Hi friends, welcome back to my channel. It's Megan and today I'm going to be discussing the To Be Continued Readathon. This is a readathon I'm helping co-host alongside, and I'm hoping I'm pronouncing these right. I wrote them down just so I wouldn't forget anyone. But Corin Fulmer, Sarah S. Thoughts, Fiction Worlds, Neverland Ingrid, me, and then G. Rex Carolini. I will tag all of them down below, but we're hosting it on Twitter and on Discord, so please feel free to jump in if you'd like to do this. But this readathon is dedicated to finishing all the series that you've started and never picked up again, and or just too intimidated or nervous or just honestly forgot about. So yeah, that is what the readathon is. It's got 7 different levels, 3 prompts for the first level, and then 2 for each level after that, and you have to complete the first level before you can advance to the next level. However, you are able to read these out of order, so if you do read them out of order, you have to complete whatever levels before for the next level's prompts to count, if that makes sense. So you know that you are able to kind of organize your prompts out of order. And as I said, I'll list all the details in the description down below with all the rules, all the prompts, the hosts, the sign-up sheet, the Discord, the Twitter, anything like that that you guys might be looking for will be down below. Now, I personally, because I'm helping co-host it and because I have my Half-Blood book club, I've got just regular reading I want to do, anything like that, I probably won't be finishing all of the prompts, but I do have books for all of the prompts in case I make it that far. So I did want to go through all of the prompts with you today and what my goals for this readathon are. But more than likely, I probably won't finish them all. So I'm just keeping that in my mind as I go into February. So each level has its own label or title. So level 1 is the standalone, and prompt 1 under this is top of the TBR. This prompt is to pick the book that you are most excited to read as a sequel, and so for me, that is clearly Heart of Flames by Nikki Palpretto. This is a sequel to Crown of Feathers, which tells the story of Veronica, who all she wants to do is be a Phoenix Rider after 2 sisters have gone to war and the Phoenix Rider population has been depleted. However, when she discovers a clan of Phoenix Riders, they are only accepting boys, so she must disguise herself as a boy to join them. And I just reread it for the 3rd time in January, but I annotated it this time, and you'll see in my wrap-up that I think I used up 2 things worth of tabs on this book because I just wanted to remember and mark down so many things. This is why I'm also not allowed to have a highlighter, because when I had to highlight important things, I would just like highlight paragraphs. But yes, Heart of Flames is the sequel, and this is an advanced reader copy. It comes out next Tuesday, February 11th, so please, please, please check it out if you are at all interested in male-male romance, strong, compassionate female leads, or phoenixes and phoenix writers. I mean, come on, you guys, it's the best. But enough talk about that. This is my number 1 prompt for top of the TBR. The next prompt in level 1 is called The Journey, and this is to pick a book that is in the middle of a series. So that can be like 2, 3, 4 out of 5, or it could just be number 2 out of 3. And I chose to go with Legendary by Stephanie Garber. This was my most anticipated book that I wanted for Christmas, and I finally own it. I've been so stoked to pick this up, and I cannot believe I haven't done it already. But I do need to read Caraval first, and then I'll go into Legendary. Caraval tells the story of 2 sisters who have dreamed of going to this huge nightly performance game type thing. It's like a competition, and you have to have a special invite to go. And one day, Scarlett receives 2 invitations in the mail to bring her and her sister. But this year's competition is actually to find Tella, so Tella gets kidnapped, and Scarlett has to go on this journey through the entire scavenger hunt competition type performance and find her sister to win the game. It actually surprised me. I love books that surprise me, and I just really loved this world, so of course I need to pick up Legendary. And the 3rd prompt in level 1 is the grand finale, so of course I had to go with Finale by Stephanie Garber, which is the 3rd and final book in the Caraval series, which I just discussed, so I'm not going to go over it again, but I couldn't think of a more perfect grand finale. So of course, a readathon being about finishing series, the level 2 title is sequel. And the first prompt under it is read the book. And this is to read a book with a movie adaptation. Now, I don't actually know if the sequel got a movie adaptation, but I know If I Stay did. I read If I Stay in January. It tells the story of Mia, who goes into this coma after a really bad car wreck, and it follows her journey in deciding if she wants to stay in the coma or pass on. And I'm excited to see where she went. But I do know If I Stay is a movie, so like I said, I don't know if this one is, so I might be cheating a little bit, but I did want to finish the series. It's not a series that I particularly think I'll read again, but I did like it enough to want to know what happens next. So I'll probably unhaul it after I finish this, but I did want to read it. The next prompt is This Just In, and that is to pick a book that is a new release. This one I'm also cheating on a little bit. I don't know if it's like a new release, but it's still kind of new to me because I haven't really picked up the series, and it came out last year, so it's sort of new, but you can't even tell what it is from this. It's Five Dark Fates. This is just the bookish box dust cover, so let me pull this back. Five Dark Fates by Kindar Blake. So Five Dark Fates is the last book in the Three Dark Crowns series. The Three Dark Crowns tells the story of three triplets who were born with powers. One is a naturalist, one is a poisoner, and one is an elementalist. And they are then kind of raised separately, and then they're brought together when they're 16, and they have to fight to the death for the crown to discover who will become the one true queen. And there's a lot of like backlash against Three Dark Crowns because people think it's slow, but I just reread it as an audiobook. That was my second read of it, and I love this series. I don't know why people think it's slow. I think the world building is so like conducive to the plot, and oh my gosh, I just love these characters and this plot. It's so crazy. But yeah, Five Dark Fates is the fourth book out of the series. I've only read Three Dark Crowns, so I still need to read One Dark Throne and Two Dark Reigns before I can pick up Five Dark Fates. Again, a readathon about series. Level 3 is called Trilogy. The first prompt in Trilogy is called Catch Up, and this is to pick a book that is very popular and you just haven't read. Now, I am planning to read The Cruel Prince this week as a buddy read. I've already read it once, but I have wanted to finish the series. But as I said in my 2020 resolutions, I want to reread the first book and or any books that come before whatever sequel is coming out that I want to read. So I have to read The Cruel Prince, but for catch up, which is to read the popular series, I'm going to be reading The Wicked King. The Cruel Prince tells the story of Jude and her two sisters who were brutally forced into the world of fairy. And when they're there, the fairies are pretty cruel to them because they're humans. So it just follows their story. That's pretty much it. And then The Wicked King. Next is Hiatus, which is to read an uncompleted series as of now. However, you are allowed to use one wild card in any of these prompts, so if any of the prompts just don't suit your fancy, you are able to substitute it for any book you want to read. And personally, all of the series that I currently am working on and want to read this month are finished and or they're like completed, but they might be receiving stuff in the future. However, I don't know, it just felt wrong to use that, so I'm going to substitute it with my wild card for One Dark Throne. So Five Dark Fates, of course, I said first, but this isn't too far off, so it shouldn't be too hard. I do want to read the entire Three Dark Crowns series in February, so One Dark Throne is getting substituted in. Level 4 is called Arc, and the first prompt in Arc is called Tangent, and this is to read a side series or a companion novel or a prequel of some sort to a series you've been working on. And for this, I chose The Assassin's Blade by Sarah J. Maas. This is a side novella to Throne of Glass. So I read Throne of Glass last year, just Throne of Glass. I haven't read any of the other series, so I thought this would be a good one to pick up. So I'm going to read The Assassin's Blade. And then the second prompt in the Arc or level 4 is to read a reread or a favorite. Speaking of the Assassin's Blade, for my reread I'm going to be doing Throne of Glass by Sarah J Maas. If you asked me what this was about, I honestly can't remember. I think it was about a girl who trains and enters a competition to become the king's assassin, if I remember correctly. So I definitely want to reread Throne of Glass before I continue on with the series. Level 5 is labeled Series, and the first prompt in level 5 is called I Like Them Another, and that just reminds me of that scene in Thor when he's like, I like it, another, and smashes the mug. So I really like this prompt. But the prompt is to read a book by a favorite author of yours, and obviously my favorite author is Leigh Bardugo, and I have been working on the Shadow and Bone trilogy, so that's perfect. So I will just read Ruin and Rising, which is the third and final book in the Grishaverse trilogy. Shadow and Bone is a story about a girl and a boy who are both orphans. However, one day the girl discovers that she actually has sun summoning powers, which is something that could potentially save the world, and it's just the whole Grishaverse storyline and world building up to Six of Crows, which is again my favorite book of 2019 and possibly ever. So yeah. And prompt number 2 in level 5 is called Tale as Old as Time, which is to read a book that has the oldest publishing date. Now, I didn't feel like going through all of my books and all of my series to find the oldest publishing date, so I just kind of went through the ones that I had already been working on, and this one, Crown of Midnight by Sarah J Maas, had the oldest. This was published in 2013, I believe. Obviously, Throne of Glass came out before this, but Throne of Glass was already being used for another prompt, so we'll let it slide, and Crown of Midnight is the sequel. Level 6 is called Saga, and the first prompt in this is called Hipster, which is to read a book as a hidden gem. Last year, my friend and I did a buddy swap. I'll link her channel down below. Thank you, Christina. And she gave me Darkness Becomes Her by Kelly Keaton, which is the Gods and Monsters series, I'm pretty sure. I haven't heard a lot of hype about this book. But there is a sequel called A Beautiful Evil. I don't own it, so I can't hold it, so I'm using this as a placeholder, but I am going to pick it up at the library to see if I like it. But this essentially tells the story of a girl who grows up knowing she's kind of different, and she goes to this town where her mother lived to discover what made her different, and she learns a lot. The second prompt in level 6 is called Procrastination and or a book you have been putting off. And this one is completely dedicated to the book that I am most embarrassed about not finishing yet, which is A Court of Wings and Ruin by Sarah J Maas. This is the third book in the ACOTAR series, A Court of Thorns and Roses series, which tells the story of Feyre, who is taken into the land of Fairy, and it's essentially a Beauty and the Beast retelling. I believe that A Court of Mist and Fury is a Hades and Persephone retelling, and I can't remember what this is supposed to be a retelling of. I think I remember someone saying like Snow White or something like that, but I'm probably completely wrong. But I cannot believe I haven't read this series yet, or this specific book yet. Out of the series, A Court of Mist and Fury stole my heart, and I need to know what happens next, but I'm so scared for this series to end. And I know Court of Frost and Starlight is like a side novella or the continuation of the series, but I've heard like not good things about it, so I just want this to be the end. Of course I'll read the other one for my own opinion, but like I'm so scared for this to end. And down to the last level, we are at level 7, which is titled Master of the TBR. I don't think I'll be a master, but we're certainly gonna try. Prompt number 1 in level 7 is I bet you thought you'd seen the last of me, which is a prompt dedicated to finishing a book in which the original series was perceived to be completed, but then there has been talk of a new book coming out in the series. I kind of mentioned this before, but A Darker Shade of Magic was a trilogy, and it was supposed to be a trilogy, but I've heard talk that they're continuing the story, so I'm using A Conjuring of Light, which is the third book in the trilogy, as this prompt. A Darker Shade of Magic tells the story of Kel, who has the ability to travel between 4 different Londons, and that's really all I want to say about it, because That's how much I knew going into it, but I was just enthralled with the world, so yes. And the last book and the last in this TBR is Second Chance, or a book in which the sequel is better than the original. Now, I don't know if this is true because I've never read it, but I've heard a lot of people say that The Queen of Nothing is better than The Cruel Prince, so we're gonna roll with that and go with The Queen of Nothing. So that is my To Be Continued Readathon TBR. As I said, I don't think I'll actually get to all of these. I'll probably make it to like level 4-ish, but we're certainly gonna try. I will be posting a separate TBR video for the rest of the books I want to read in February, but I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Thank you so much for watching. Let me know what's on your TBR and if you'll be joining me in this readathon, and I will check in with you in my next one. Bye, friends!